Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We have a continuation tonight of a series of holidays that ought to make all Republicans proud. Patriotic holidays from Memorial Day, when we remember those people who gave their lives for our liberty. Juneteenth, when Union soldiers brought the word of what our man Abe Lincoln accomplished to the last rascals who were holding out officially, holding slaves in the United States of America, a holiday Republicans should celebrate. The business of freeing the slaves, by the way, has not ended, and a great free market economist, Steve Moore, I suspect, is going to tell us more tonight about how we still have quite an agenda about ending slavery in America, an agenda to free all of us from the restraints of government and unjust laws. To the 4th of July, the celebration of our independence, the 248 years of American independence, till today, July 8th, which by special dispensation is Lincoln Day in the northwest suburbs of Cook County, Illinois. Welcome to the Lincoln Day dinner. Now you have salads in front of you, and momentarily I'm going to call on someone to deliver an invocation and get you started with dinner. So I appreciate that you're staring at food, and it won't be long. But first we have some business we need to attend to before we tuck into those salads. And let's begin by honoring our nation. We Republicans are not embarrassed or ashamed to do that. As a matter of fact, we rejoice in that. Let me call your attention to the color guard from the Schaumburg Post of the American Legion. Commander Kwiatkowski, post the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, on your feet, please.
Detail, mark time, march. Detail, halt. Right face. Prepare to post colors. Post. And salute.
Thank you, Commander. While we're at attention, ladies and gentlemen, will you join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forward, march.
I thank Commander Kwiatkowski and the representatives of Legion Post 1983 for honoring us and honoring our country in this way. Please have your seats. I'm delighted now to call on Deacon Peter Letourneau. You will recognize him as a member of the clergy, but let me tell you, he had a life before he was in the clergy. You're going to hear a little bit from Gary Rabine later tonight, and everybody knows Gary Rabine is Mr. Paving. Although Deacon Letourneau is a man of the cloth, in a former life, he was also in an allied business. He was in the street painting, the line business. So he has a tremendous affinity for people who take paving seriously. More on this theme shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present, please, Deacon Peter Letourneau.
Thank you. I'd like to begin with a quote from Abraham Lincoln from 1865, and I think it's really appropriate in today's world. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall borne the battle and for his widow and his orphans, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and all nations. And let us pray. Good and gracious God, we invite you to come into this room and guide our actions tonight. Our faith traditions are united in recognition that you are the creator of all things. You move on a scale and in a way we can scarcely comprehend, but your grace and love reach through space and time to claim us, guide us, and make us your own. We are not here to ask you to bless what we have designed. We are here to ask you to transform us, to make us better, make us courageous, make us tireless in seeking a more just nation for all who live in this land. O eternal God, hope of all who call out to you, work through our leaders who have been entrusted to act on our behalf. Remind them that as they wield their great power, they may also bear great responsibility. And remind us that each of our lives matter, our voice, our examples, and our values and our service. May we each be one pivot point where the world swings from what it is to what it can be. We may call you by different names, we may pray in different languages, we may come from a magnitude of perspectives, but tonight we share this moment as we live together on this fragile planet. Give us grace, give us courage, give us compassion, and give us hope. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Deacon Letourneau. Ladies and gentlemen, now please enjoy your salad, but bear with me. While you're eating your salad, we're going to continue with the program because we have a lot to accomplish tonight. We want to get you out of here in a reasonable time. At this point, let me call on Ken Jochum of the Wheeling Township Executive Committee and one of the members of the Executive Committee of this dinner for some introductions. Ken?
Well, as you're enjoying this salad, I hope I don't provide you with a word salad. I hope there's some meaningful information here. I'd like to, first of all, thank Joe Morris and his wonderful wife, Kathy, for being here. They have been at almost every one of our events. And don't you agree that he adds so much to our event and provides us leadership? Thank you, Joe, so much. I'd also like to thank Steve Moore, and I kept calling him Stephen because I watch him on the news and everything. He corrected me on that. But I appreciate you being here. This group of people needs your kind of guidance and leadership and the real info, and we're looking forward to that today. Thank you. I hope all of you enjoy our 17th annual Lincoln Day dinner. Let me begin by saying that it's gratifying to see so many people who have been here regularly over the years. And none of us look any older. I don't know how that works. With each dinner, we hit another milestone. I'd like you to listen to just these two numbers, although Steve's going to have better ones. The total income since the start of the dinner 17 years ago has exceeded $2.1 million. Now remember, we are grassroots organizations. We're people who are getting volunteers out, filling bags and so on. We've been able to return over $1.5 million of that to the sponsoring organizations. And it's through your generosity and the generosity of all of those people who contributed to our ad book. I hope you'll look at this ad book and spend some time with it. The people who put ads in here, first of all, would like you to use their businesses, but also they support our efforts and our activities. This is a huge undertaking, and Kathy Dolan-Balmer of our Hanover organization is the one responsible for most of this. I think she did a great job. Has anyone seen anything bigger than this at any of your Lincoln Days? I won't embarrass anybody. Okay. So thank you for the 17 years of success. We're all looking to 17 more if we can make it. Next, we'd like to thank some sponsors. Many people have sponsored, of course, by tables and invitations, but especially we'd like to thank our major sponsor, Dick Uline, who regularly sponsors, is involved. And interestingly enough, Steve Moore told me he had just spoken with Dick Uline, who mentioned the dinner. So that is an important part of it. The next important sponsor I'd like to thank is Gary Rabine. Gary Rabine is here. Gary Rabine is here. We have to cut the dinner short because he's going to finish the parking lot out back. But he's here specifically sponsoring our speaker, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And Gary's heart is still here with us, and his effort is, and Gary, we're grateful very much to what you've done. The last bit of information, I'd like to just point out some of the people. Joe Felici couldn't be here for the rest of the dinner. Kathy Penner, who is the committeeman from Wheeling Township, is here. Katie Dolan-Balmer, Bob Vintage, program coordinator, Edgar Alvarado from Barrington Township. So we'd like to thank all of you for being here. And I told you that while you're eating your salad, you'd get something. So I looked up a famous vice president's speeches, and I would just like to leave you with this. We are eating because food is what we eat. Have a great evening, folks. Thank you.
The other party's emergency team. Well, I'm delighted that Ken Jochum used a 5-letter word you don't hear often enough in politics, and that word is thank, or make it 6 thanks. It's a cruel business, politics. People don't remember the kindnesses. People don't remember the accomplishments. People are very quick to point fingers at failures. But it's very important to say thanks to people who've made a difference, who've done their best, and have actually carried, as they say, water for the elephant in our case. And I want to acknowledge 2 people who are in the room right in front of me. Our outgoing state chairman, Don Tracy. And sitting next to him, leading the applause, our outgoing chairman of our State Finance Committee, Vince Colber. Now, those are tough jobs, and these guys have given selflessly of themselves, inspired many of the rest of us, and turned in a very credible performance. And you deserve to hear it from us as you've just heard it. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. I'm sorry that our outgoing national committeeman, Richard Porter, was not able to be here tonight. Our outgoing national committeewoman, Demetra DeMonte, was not able to be here tonight. Is Dean White, our new national committeeman, here? Dean, are you here? Where are you, Dean? There he is. Dean, congratulations. Our hopes ride with you. You've got a lot of work to do. I hope you'll be able to count on most of the people in this room to help you do a very important job for Illinois and our party nationally. Now, a week or so ago, we saw what the news media want us to believe was a debate. Now we here in Illinois, the land of Lincoln, and for that matter, the Democratic guy, Stephen Douglas, we know what real debates are like. You go back and read the texts of those debates in 1858, and you'll see serious discussion of serious issues by serious people. And I'm not sure that any 2 candidates for the United States Senate in Illinois ever debated more fervently and more intelligently than Lincoln and Douglas than did Salvi and Salvi. Here are Al Salvi and Kathy Salvi, who have been our candidates for the United States Senate. Different years, of course, but if you think the Lincoln-Douglas debates were something, you ought to hear the Salvi-Salvi debates. Well, if you will indulge us, please, Steve Moore's got a plane to catch. He's got other places in which he has to play Johnny Appleseed and plant some seeds. And we want to get him on his way tonight. So if you'll bear with me, we're going to proceed right through the salad with remarks by Gary and by Steve Moore. And then we'll have dinner, and then we'll come back for a little more, I think, some fun. I'm going to call on Gary Rabine right now, and I'm going to do this very briefly because I think you know Gary Rabine. He has done his part in labors for our party and our state. There are some people who really love what they do, who really love the work they're in, who really love the career, the professions they've chosen. And it's a joy to meet somebody like that. And if you know Gary Rabine, you know this is a guy who loves paving. He loves land clearing. He loves making things flat and smooth and livable. This is a guy who, when he was in high school, his friends made fun of him because while they had their various airy-fairy plans for what they were going to do with their lives, he knew from a very early age this man's going to build roads to get people from here to there. Because that is the way in which progress is made, getting you from here to there, safely and efficiently. To get us from here to Steve Moore and to hear the message that Steve brings us tonight, I am delighted to present you a friend of his and a friend of all of us, Gary Rabine.
Thank you for that kind welcoming. I got to tell you, I did have a dream to be a road paver, actually. But when I saw the corruption in Illinois, as I got into that business, I actually backed my way out of it into the parking lot world. And I've enjoyed that as we've grown nationally with that business. So thank you. I mean, paving is my life. I'm a ditch digger. I call myself Ditch Digger CEO, and I have a lot of fun mentoring great leaders in business today. So hello, everybody's excited about what we got coming. Now, Steve Moore, an amazing guy, isn't he? So I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Joe Felici, for inviting me to sponsor and introduce Steve. But you can't get that without a few minutes of what's going on in the world, in my opinion. So, we're blessed to have some great Americans like Steve Moore, who were born and raised in this great state of Illinois. Hey, we had Ronald, we had Abe, we had Hillary. Think of it, Ronald Reagan, one of the greatest presidents in my lifetime. One of the most anti-communist presidents who proved his grit as our leader who ended the Cold War. How about Abe Lincoln, right? The great Abraham Lincoln. The man we're here today to honor, who risked and lost his life as he fought to end slavery. What an amazing patriot, what an amazing Illinoisan he was. May God bless the souls of these two great men. And last, we have Hillary. Hillary Wolf was a great actress who played in Home Alone. And actually, she's an American Olympian hero. She's a judo champion. Hillary was something else. Give her a hand. But think about this. Lincoln and Reagan must be looking down at our state and our country in amazement. How did these two Marxist guys, JB and JB, get elected? JB Taxker as our governor, and Sleepy JB, Joe Biden. They don't represent the values of Lincoln and Reagan that they fought for, right? That neither guy ever had a real job or lived in the real world, in my opinion. And yet both are great at dictating what is good for thee, but not for me. Reagan and Lincoln understood what the American dream stood for and how American freedom wasn't free and must be fought for. I believe these two presidents are looking down from heaven at America and the freedoms that we've lost, worried about this November 24th election as our last chance to save our freedom and the American dream. As many here know, I wasn't endorsed by President Ronald Reagan, President Trump. Reagan, I had to be a little older, I guess. But President Trump didn't endorse me. I did everything I could to get his support, and in 2016 and 2020, nobody that ran did as much to fund his fight, as well as have rallies. But somehow he didn't choose me. And for about 10 minutes, I was pretty pissed. Then I realized God's got another plan for me. Since losing that primary, God has been great to me. My life has been amazing. I'm up to 5 beautiful grandchildren. I met my spectacular fiancée, Julie, almost 2 years ago, who's here today. And I'm back as the mentor and chairman of 15 Rabine Group companies, enjoying the greatest growth we've had in all our history. The growth of the Rabine Group team and the business we built over the last 43 years could have only happened in America. But guess what? Even with all these blessings, I've become more concerned and focused on the rise of the communist globalist leadership in the Democratic Party today. I'm truly worried that the American dream will not be available to our next generation, and all we need to do is look to the north to see what dictator Trudeau has accomplished in a short period of time in the new communist Canada. Behind this communist globalist rise are the architects, actors, and politicians in the Green New Deal, the corporate and political leaders of the woke WEF, World Economic Forum, and the next regime that George Soros and Barack Obama have lined up to replace this one. I'm more passionate than ever about Trump winning. So passionate that my friends and I are having a large Trump rally on August 18th, the day before the Democratic Convention. I expect all you guys to be there. If Trump doesn't show up, I ran into Trump a few weeks ago with Charlie Kirk and told him about this, and I said, you need to be there. I said, if you're not there, we're going to have 15,000 people. If you're there, we're going to have 30 or 40,000 people. And we're going to have a fundraiser after. It's going to raise some serious money. And he said, I think I need to be there. So I said, I think you do too. And I said, so let's get it done. So he looked for his guy Justin that handles a lot of his rallies and stuff. He wasn't there. And he said, you got to talk to Justin. So since that time, over the last few weeks, we've been working on that with Justin and the team that Trump has for rallies and fundraisers. So again, an all-star team will be built for this event. Steve Moore, who always, very seldom says no, says yes again. We got Roger Stone, General Flynn, Yaku Boyan, Sean Thompson, some great people that are going to be there to speak. Charlie Kirk, we're working on. I'll get him there. And we think we'll get the VP candidate, who will be announced tomorrow by Trump, from what it looks like. Please make a note of this and watch for it. August 18th, somewhere in the north suburbs, okay? Now, my Steve Moore bio. I got to get to that, right, Steve? Steve is a spectacular Illinoisan and a great success story. A graduate of New Trier East High School. How about that? A graduate of U of I, University of Illinois, and he holds a master's degree in economics from George Mason University. Steve is one of America's greatest economists. I met Steve about 20 years ago as a senior fellow of economics at the Heritage Foundation. He was the senior economic, it wasn't me, he was the guy, okay? I met him there. Anyway, in 1987, Steve worked for our late great President Ronald Reagan on his commission on privatization. In 2007, Steve received the Ronald Reagan Great Communicator Award from the Republican Party for his advancement in economic understanding. Steve served as a senior economic advisor to President Trump 2016 in his campaign, and then worked for Trump's administration and drafted the tax, budget, and energy policy plans. These plans, when they were executed, in my opinion, set fire to the fastest growing economy I had ever seen in my lifetime until the COVID pandemic. In 2018, Worth Magazine named Steve one of the most influential people in the world dealing with economics and finance. Steve is a regular contributor to Wall Street Journal, and almost daily you can see him in Fox News. Steve is one of America's greatest economists and an Illinois American treasure. I met Steve about 20 years ago as a senior fellow, but I started running into him everywhere. When an organization called Job Creators Network was started, I was asked to be one of the founders, and Steve was the person we looked to as our economic advisor. Steve was there for us always. And then we started this little thing, Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk was looking to build that organization, brought him in front of the same group, and Steve was there again to lend his hand wherever Charlie needed him. Our friendship grew and grew, and I'm proud to be today a member of his board in the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, and now additionally to FreedomWorks. When I ran for governor, I had the two best economic advisors in American history, in my opinion. I had Steve and our friend Art Laffer committed to being my Illinois turnaround team. I figured if these two guys were good enough for Ronnie, Margaret, and Donald, right, they had to be good enough for this hillbilly in the state of Illinois. So now I welcome my friend and our amazing Illinoisan, Steve Moore. Thank you. Well done.
Just to be clear, I'm a New Indian, not a Trevian. You know, what is it? And also, bring back Chief Illinois to Illinois, right? I mean, come on, we're going to turn this country around. Gary, you are a great friend, and wouldn't this be a great state if Gary Rabine were the governor of this state today? You should be governor, Gary. I have to say, I'm just touched and honored to be here, being a native from the great state of Illinois in the land of Lincoln. And, you know, I look out here and who knew there were so many deplorable people in Illinois, right? I mean, by the way, raise your hand if you're a deplorable. Yes! But you're adorable deplorables. And I always say, by the way, that Republican women, I've met so many wonderful people here tonight, especially the women, and the women, no, look, it's true. And I always say this, look, Republican women are smarter, wiser, and more beautiful than Democratic women, right? I mean, I know that's a very politically incorrect thing to say, but it is true. I want to do a shout out. I think my friend, John Tillman, where are you? John Tillman, the founder. I remember, John, you called me, and what is that, 15, 20 years ago, and said, I'm going to start a conservative think tank in Illinois. And I'm like, are you crazy, John? You can't have a... But you started the Illinois Policy Institute. It's one of the most influential institutes in America. So, John, I salute you. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. I get the Wall Street Journal app on my phone. And this literally just came across the transom just 5 minutes ago. Have you all heard about this yet? That apparently Joe Biden has announced that he is going to rename the BATF. Any of you heard about this yet? It is going to be renamed the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Gas Stoves, Gas Cars, Air Conditioners. And what is it with these people? They want to ban everything. So let me just tell you a couple things. And by the way, I apologize. I actually do have to leave a little early tonight. And thank you for accommodating me because I have a meeting with President Trump tomorrow. And President Trump, I'm going to say this right now. Donald J. Trump, you heard it first here, is going to win a 40-state re-election landslide. He is going to win 40 states. And I'm looking at the polls, by the way. This is a blue state. I don't know if you guys are looking at some of the blue state polls. They're amazing. Donald Trump, according to the latest polling out in the East Coast, is only losing to Biden by 5 points in New Jersey. He's only losing by 6 points in New York. And in Illinois, he's only down by 9 points. I mean, that's incredible. We can win this state because we have a superior candidate. And I want to say a couple things about and I'm not saying this to brag or boast. I'm saying this because I feel so blessed in my life. And I do. I feel blessed that I've had the privilege, and Gary, thank you for saying this, that I have been able to work for the two greatest presidents of the last 50 years, Ronald Reagan and Donald J. Trump. And I just find that to be an amazing thing. And so thank you again for inviting me. I want to tell you one story. There's a side of Donald Trump, and I've been really blessed to get to know Donald Trump pretty well and consider him a friend. And he's a fun person to be around. He really is. There's a side of Donald Trump that a lot of people just never see. And you know, I remember just a few weeks ago, I was at a dinner with him at Mar-a-Lago, because, you know, he's hanging out at Mar-a-Lago this summer. He's not going to his compound in New Jersey. And there were about 12 of us who were having dinner with him, and we were just sitting around, and it was kind of fun. We weren't even talking about policy. We're just having a good time, and he was relaxed. And at one point, the guy sitting one of the governors was sitting 2 plates down from me, and he was, you know, drinking his wine. And Trump looked over at the governor and said, "Hey, Governor," he said, "do you know that I don't drink?" And by the way, I'd been around Donald Trump many, many times. It had never occurred to. How many of you knew that Donald Trump doesn't drink? I never thought about it, but I never did see him with a drink, a beer or anything. And he said, "Governor, did you know I don't drink?" And the governor's a little embarrassed, you know, because he's drinking his wine. And he said, "Well, yes, Mr. President, I've heard that about you." And Trump says, "Governor, can you imagine me if I drank?" You know, I mean, the guy has a really great sense of humor. What I wanted one other thing about Reagan before I talk a little bit about what's going on with the election. Ronald Reagan, how many of you have visited the Reagan Library in Simi Valley? For those of you who have not, you've got to go. You've got to go. Gary, you've been there, haven't you? Isn't it an amazing, inspiring experience to go to the Reagan Library? It is the most visited presidential library of them all, for good reason. And you go there, and I've been there 4 or 5 times. I didn't really want to go, but they were having it was the 20-year anniversary of of Reagan's death, and so it was, you know, Art Laffer and me, and they had Peggy Noonan and some of all the Reagan folks and so on. And it was just such an inspiring thing to remember what one president could accomplish. I mean, think about this. Ronald Reagan won the Cold War without firing a single shot. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. And it shows that peace through strength. I mean, he rebuilt the American economy, he rebuilt our military, he rebuilt our sense of purpose as a country. And I think Donald Trump has basically done the same. And Biden has, in 3.5 years, ruined our country. One of the things that I think, and I want to make a very serious point here, I think Republicans are making a mistake in talking so much about Biden's mental fitness and mental incapacities. I really do. I think, look, by the way, I was at the Hay Adams Hotel just 3 or 4 nights ago at the bar, and Biden actually came in to the bar, and there were these 2 really pretty girls at the bar, and he walks right up to them, and he said, "Do I come here often?" So I mean, I think he's mentally fit. No, but I am trying to make a serious point, though. Yes, Joe Biden is having real problems mentally, but look, we all get old, right? We all get old, and this is a natural thing. I don't want Republicans to focus on his age, and he is incompetent, not mentally. Every single policy this president has put into effect has been incompetent, right? Whether it's the border, whether it's taxes, whether it's crime, whether it's the economy, whether it's inflation, all of these have been so damaging to our economy. And here's the reason this is important. Right now, let me do a poll of you all. How many of you think that Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee after the convention? How many? Raise your hand. Maybe. How many of you don't think he will be the nominee? Looks like it's about 50-50. And those are kind of the odds right now. I think it's a 50-50. I'd put it 70-30 that he will not be the nominee. But here's what's going on with the narrative on the left. And we have to shoot down this narrative. What the left is saying is, "Oh, he's been a great president, he's just too old." Right? That's what they're saying. He's been a great president. No, he has not been a great president. He's been a horrible president. And I want to focus, if I may, I'm going to show you some charts, and there will be an exam at the end of this presentation, because I'm an economist. But I want to focus on some of the things that are going on. And I don't have a clicker, but could you put up the charts? Okay, so let's start with this. And this is not a long presentation, but this is something I'm going to be showing at the convention next week in Milwaukee to a bunch of the delegates. So this is how much we spent on COVID. Thank you. This is how much we spent on COVID. And by the way, Trump is not blameless on this. I think, we spent way too much money on. Oh, by the way, can we all agree? We're all Republicans. We all believe in free enterprise. We all believe in freedom. That never, 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 never again will we allow the government to shut down our schools. Never again. Never again will we allow them to shut down our businesses. Never again will we allow them to shut down our churches. Never. This was the single greatest violation of freedom in the Constitution and the greatest power grab by government that we ever saw in our lifetime. And we now know, by the way, that lockdowns were a complete sinister failure. More people died of lockdowns than were saved by them. We just did a study showing that by best estimates, lockdowns saved about 65,000 lives, but lockdowns caused 600,000 deaths. So lockdowns killed 10 times more people than they saved. And the worst part about this, huge problems in terms of what it did to our debt, but the single biggest mistake of all, something that is really unforgivable, is what we did to our children and closing down the schools. And shame on the teachers' unions for putting us in that situation. Trillions of dollars were lost. And John Tillman, I'm going to say it. The teachers' unions are an evil influence in America today. They are one of the most sinister forces. And by the way, I believe that great teachers should be taught, should be rewarded. I remember I was so lucky in my lifetime. I went to great schools. New Trier is a public school, and I got an incredible education there. And I remember some of the great teachers I had. Great teachers are worth their weight in gold. The problem is you can't get rid of incompetent teachers. And so we have to have a system that rewards excellence and gets rid of the bad ones. And we ought to do that, right, John Tillman, through every single child in Illinois should have a choice of where they go to school, whether it's a Catholic school, a Jewish school, and so on. So anyway, back to the slides. So this is how much we spent. And look, Trump, I tell Trump this all the time. I said, sir, you spent too much money on COVID. You shouldn't have shut down. And I always tell him, by the way, I just saw him a couple weeks ago, and I reminded him of that. I said, sir, you were a great president, but you know what your greatest mistake was. And how many of you agree with me on this when I said this to him? Your greatest single mistake was not firing Anthony Fauci, who is a liar and should be in prison. So anyway, there's all the spending. And this thing isn't working, so can you click to the next slide? Okay, there it goes. So this is basically, then Biden comes in after we spent, $3 trillion in COVID. And remember, I think it was Rahm Emanuel. You all know who Rahm Emanuel is, right? He is very famous for saying that a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. Remember that? And so what the left did, these people are not stupid. They're evil, but they're not stupid. And they realized this was an opportunity to spend more money than ever before in the history of this country and use COVID as an excuse. And by the way, Biden lied. The COVID was over when he came into office. The economy in the last 6 months that Trump was in office grew by 11%. We were at the beginning stages of a boom when Biden came into office. He's lying about the history of it. He's, oh, God, I took over, the economy was in shambles. It was not. We were in a 6-month recovery once we opened up the economy. Anyway, they use this. These are the spending bills that they spent. $4 trillion. By the way, $4 trillion is more money, even adjusted for inflation, than the United States government spent to win World War II. So we've never seen anything like this massive buildup. Now, if you spend that much money, and you borrow that much money, and you print that much money, what's going to happen to prices? They are going to go up. It's so obvious. It was so obvious this was happening. Sir, could you put the next chart up? So This is why I'm so nervous about it. This is why this is such a monumentally important election. And we say this every election, oh God, this one's so important. But look, Biden is on Venus and Trump is on Mars. You could not have two presidents who are looking at the economy in a more diametrically opposite way. And basically what you're looking at, and what's so sinister about diabolical about what's happening today, if you look at this chart, and this is one of my favorite ones, and I wish every school child in America, was familiar with this. What this is showing you is government debt from the time our nation was founded back in 1776. And you can see that at the start of that chart, you can see we spent and borrowed a lot of money to win our Revolutionary War and win our independence. But look what happened after the Revolutionary War was over. Look what happened to the debt. It fell dramatically. And then, we had the War of 1812, we borrowed, and then we played that down. Look, after the Civil War, massive amounts of spending to fight the evils and eradicate slavery. And then when the Civil War was over, look what we did. We responsibly paid down the debt. You see a pattern here? The same thing happened after World War I. The same thing happened after World War II. The same thing after Reagan won the Cold War. Now we have this crisis that was called COVID, and COVID is over. So if we were running any kind of rational economic fiscal policy today, we would not be running deficits. We would be running surpluses right now. And if you look at the budget that Biden just put out a few months ago, his plan, this is not me making it. He even admits this was what he wants to do. He wants to borrow $2 trillion a year from now until forever. That will bankrupt our country. A country will go over a cliff if we allow that to happen. That debt chart ends in 2030, but under the Biden new things, the debt goes higher than it was even under World War II. So this is not sustainable. I know I talked to a lot of you during the reception, and I can't tell you, half of you came up to me and said, what are we going to do about this debt? Well, Biden's solution is we're just going to raise taxes. Is there anybody in this room who really thinks we can solve this problem by raising taxes? You could take, only the top 1% will pay all the taxes. Even if you took every single penny from the top 1%, you couldn't even fund the federal government for 3 months. The money is going to come from the middle class, and that's their only solution. Now let me show you the next one, if I may. As I said, what happens when you spend and borrow all this money? As sure as the sun is going to rise in the east and set in the west, you're going to unleash inflation. And this is the inflation chart. And by the way, I just showed these charts to President Trump a few weeks ago, and he was astounded by this. That top line is the inflation level, and the bottom line is what's happened to people's incomes. Now look at the next chart. So this is something that I'm particularly proud of, having been one of Trump's economic advisors and when he became president in 2017, is that we saw a spectacular, look at this, a $6,500 increase in real middle income families. By the way, this is median. Median means exactly half are above the level and half below. So this is the people in the exact middle. They saw a $6,500 increase in their incomes. And by the way, that was not just true of whites, it was true of single mothers. It was true, not necessarily the same magnitude, but the same percentage changes. Blacks, Hispanics, by the way, I'm so damn sick of them calling Donald Trump a racist. There is no president in modern times who did more for blacks and Hispanics than Donald J. Trump. There's no question about it. They had the lowest poverty rate in America ever under Donald Trump for blacks and Hispanics. The lowest unemployment rate ever for blacks and Hispanics. I could go out, the biggest income gains ever for blacks and Hispanics, and they call him a racist? So hold that number in your head, $6,500 increase in real incomes. Now, look at the next chart. This is why Joe Biden is going, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whoever they put up, this is why they're going to lose. Because the average family, now this is a little out of date, the number, this does not include the last 9 months, but right now that number is about $2,200. So the average family in America has lost $2,200 in real income under Joe Biden. Let me make this very clear. What I'm saying is that the average family in America today is poorer today than the day that Donald Trump left office and the day Joe Biden came in. So what planet are they on when they say how wonderful this economy has been? I mean, have these people been to a grocery store? Have they been to filled up their gas pump? Have they done? I mean, middle-class families are struggling in America, and it's because of this spending binge that Biden put us through. If you'll show the next chart, please. I just find this one to be funny because, now they're saying, oh my gosh, if Donald Trump is reelected president, then he will cause more inflation. The average inflation rate when Trump was president, does anybody know what the inflation rate was? Gary, you may know this one. When Trump left office, you know what the inflation rate was? 1.5%. And this is so amazing. In 18 months, Joe Biden took the inflation rate from 1.5% to 9.2%. I mean, how do you screw up the economy that quickly? And he managed to do it. And he's now saying, oh, Trump's going to be the one that's going to cause inflation. What I find so interesting about this chart, you see the black line, that's the inflation. You see those dotted lines? Those are all like the New York Times and the Washington Post and all these other, Paul Krugman and all these, Nobel Prize economists. Those were their forecasts for inflation. In fact, the most amazing thing, it's laughable, right? I mean, if you made a forecast that all the inflation was going to go down and it went straight up, and incidentally, there were 15 Nobel Prize economists who wrote a piece in the New York Times, a shared letter saying, don't worry, Joe Biden's spending spree will not cause inflation. Yeah, it's laughable. Now, look, everybody makes mistakes. I'm an economist. I make mistakes. We don't always get our forecasts right. But if you say, the way to get from California from here is to go east, not west, you don't know what you're talking about. And so don't you think these Nobel economists, if they had any dignity, they would send back their PhDs and their Nobel Prizes and say, we don't know what we're talking about, right? We have no idea what we're talking about. Instead, now they're saying Trump is going to cause inflation. Okay, the next chart. This is what's pretty scary, folks. I want to have fun with you tonight, but I also want to scare you. Americans should be afraid about what these lunatics want to do. So Biden wants to raise every single tax that we have. He wants to raise our corporate tax to the highest rate in the world. Under Biden's plan, we would have a higher tax rate than China and Russia and Europe. Gee, that'll work well for America. Then look at what he wants to do with the death tax and the capital gains tax. He wants to double that. How are people going to be able to invest in small businesses when you're doubling the tax? Now, one of the most outrageous of all of these taxes, I don't know, how many of you have heard about this? That for the first time in American history, Joe Biden wants to impose a tax on unrealized capital gains. Now, this is unbelievable. So let me give you an example. For those of you who are not economists and don't follow tax policy, I'll just make this very simple. Let's say you've got an Iowa farmer, and that Iowa farmer back, say, 20 years ago, bought a farm for $500,000. He bought, 50 acres and it was worth $500,000. And let's say today, because of the appreciation of the value of real estate and so on, that farm that he bought for $500,000, let's say it's now worth $4 million. So he has his gain, right, his paper gain, if my math is right, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, would be $3.5 million, right? Now, what Biden is saying is that farmer would have to pay a 40% tax on that $3.5 million. But he doesn't have $3.5 million. He didn't sell the farm. So literally, under the Biden plan, you're going to have people having to sell their farm to pay the taxes. That is un-American, and we have to stop that. I'm here to tell you, if we do this, it will destroy the American economy. The next one. So this is what, I had so many people coming up to me in the reception and talking about my best friend, and Gary, you were talking about Art Laffer as well. Look, Arthur Laffer deserves a Nobel Prize. He's the one guy who should have a Nobel Prize in economics, right? He taught us economics. Well, this is the Laffer curve. Look at this. The top, that top line there that you're looking at, that's in brown, that's the highest tax rate in the country. And the green line is what's happened to taxes paid by the richest 1%. And by the way, when Reagan came into office, the highest tax rate was 70%. You can see he brought it all the way down to 28%. And look at what happened to taxes paid. They increased. Hey, maybe the people of Springfield might get a clue here that if you want to help the economy in Illinois, why don't you reduce taxes? And I'm kind of a radical, but I still hold out the hope that the next governor of Illinois, who will be a Republican, will get rid of the Illinois income tax. I mean, John Tillman, can't we just do that? Whether 9 states that have no income tax, let's do it. But the point is, you get more money. This is the Laffer curve. You get more money when you lower tax rates, you don't raise them. Okay, the next one. Yeah, right. Okay, now, I know this is going on a little too long, so I'm going to speed this up but this is important. This is what's going on with energy policy. And this is something that I'm kind of personally proud of. One of my first meetings with Trump back in 2015, I remember late 2015, he was just starting running for president, and Larry Kudlow met with him up in Trump Tower, and I had never met him before, and I told him, I said, sir, if you become president and you go all in on American energy, producing all the energy that we have in this country because of the shale revolution, I said in 4 years, you could make America energy independent for the first time in American history. Never forget, by the way, the story gets better. Never forget, Trump looks at me, and I'd only just met him 15 minutes earlier. He looks at me straight at me, pounds his fist on the table and says, Steve, I do not want America to be energy independent. I want America to be energy dominant. And we became energy dominant. Look at that. You see that green line? You see the red line and the brown line? Those are the oil production levels for Russia and Saudi Arabia. For the first time in our country's history, we were actually a net exporter of oil and gas under Donald J. Trump. Now, why do I show you this chart? Do you see that green line that goes straight down? You see that? How many of you in this room have ever heard of something called net zero? Raise your hand. If you haven't heard of this, this is another one of these people are scary people. They want to take American oil, gas, and coal production from today. Today, we get 82% of our energy from oil, gas, and coal. 82%. There's no green energy revolution. There's nothing. There's no transition. We need our oil and gas and coal. Biden wants to take it from 82% to 0. No, seriously. Now, let me ask you, I want to ask you all a serious question, because I get asked this a lot. When you look at what he's doing with energy, when you look at what he's done with the border, when you look at what he's done to our currency with the inflation, you look what he's done with the debt, when you look what's happening on college campuses, when you look at what's happening with crime in the cities, how many of you think that this is intentional? Raise your hand. I don't know whether it's intentional or not, because I don't like to get to people's motives, but I'm here to tell you, if you wanted to destroy America, that would be a good way to do it, to destroy our energy supplies. So we're going to turn that around. I want to show you one. Can you show one or two more, Charlie? Oh, by the way, is there anybody in there? So this is coal production, and you can see we've been stupidly shutting down our coal plants in the United States. You see that line at the top? That's China. That's China. Is there anybody in this room? Seriously. Is there anybody in this room who actually thinks that President Xi of China cares about climate change? I guarantee you he does not, Gary. All he cares about is taking over the world economy. Trump always had a great phrase where he'd say, the rest of the world is laughing behind our backs. And that's what's happening under Biden. They can't believe the stupidity of what we're doing and not using our energy resources. And the only country that's benefiting from this. Now, just turn to the next one. I'm almost done, folks, I promise. This is an important chart for you all to pay attention to. These numbers just literally came out a few weeks ago on what is happening with red states and blue states. And we are in a deep blue state here. And I'm here to tell you, and the figures are showing this in spades, that blue states are getting bled to death. And you know this. Everyone in this room knows that Illinois is being bled to death. California is being bled to death. New Jersey is being bled to death. New York is being bled to death. Connecticut is being bled to death. What is it about progressives? They ruin everything they touch. They contaminate everything that they touch. So look at this. It's so sad to see. And by the way, I love Illinois. I do. I love this state, and I think Chicago is one of the great 10 cities in America, right? This is one of the greatest cities, and we cannot allow the left to continue to destroy this great city. So Illinois and California and New York, which are paragons of progressive policy, have lost 5 million people in the last 5 or 6 years. That's a lot of people to lose. Incidentally, if these current trends continue, by the way, you can understand maybe like why people might leave Illinois or New York, but California? I mean, how do you screw up California, right? I mean, it has the most beautiful beaches, beautiful weather, beautiful women, everything's beautiful about California, and people are leaving California. Here's something that might cheer you up, by the way. If these current census trends continue, by 2030, California will lose 4 electoral seats. Is that good news? All right. So anyway, taxes matter. Now look at the state. By the way, turn back to that last one if you will. Look at the states that are gaining population. Oh, Florida, Texas, Tennessee. By the way, Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. What do those states have in common? No income tax. That's why we have to make Illinois a no income tax state. And by the way, Gary, I'm going to put you on the, I'm going to put you on the line here. If Illinois gets rid of its income tax, will you move back to Illinois? All right, you heard it, folks. He's coming back when we get rid of the income tax in Illinois. But look, people will come back. Ken Griffin will come back. Everybody will come back if we get rid of this. By the way, this is Newsom. He's going to solve the electricity problem and there's not going to be shortages because everybody's going to move to Florida. That's a good plan, Gavin. All right. I am going to stop there and just say one final thing. This is the most important thing of all. Why are we here tonight? The chances are very, very slim. Let's be honest. The chances are very, very slim that Donald J. Trump will win Illinois. Okay? He might, but I think it's unlikely. But this is such an important thing. It's a reason why we all have to work like crazy to get out the vote in November, and before that, by the way, because there has been no president, no political candidate in recent times who has had the coattail effects that Donald J. Trump has. He had massive coattail effects in 2016, where we won so many races around the country. By the way, even in 2020, the election that he lost, people don't realize that was a red wave election. Republicans, the only Republican who didn't win in 2020 was Donald Trump. We won 160 legislative seats. We won Senate seats. What I'm telling you is that having Donald J. Trump on the ballot in Illinois is gold for us. We will win city council races. We will win state legislative races. We will win dog catcher races. We will win, school board races. I think you're going to see the biggest red wave you ever saw. Let me put it, and I'll end on this. We are going to turn Georgia red. We are going to turn Arizona red. We are going to turn Michigan red. We are going to turn Pennsylvania red. We are going to turn Wisconsin red. And we are going to turn Illinois red in 2024 if we all fight for it. Thank you, folks. Fight, 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 fight. Bye.
Blood flowing. Dinner's coming. Let me call on Ken Jochum, please.
Did we all learn something tonight? Oh, yeah. And in this room, it's hard for us to learn stuff because we already know so much. But we want to particularly thank Steve for what he's done by giving him our special Lincoln Award. We want him to remember us, mainly because he's going to have to buy another ticket in the plane to get this thing back. But he will remember us. And Steve, I hope you put this someplace close to where you and President Trump can see it in the future. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that was splendid. Thank you very much, Steve Moore. And we're sorry that you have to leave us, but we know you're leaving us for a good reason, to attend to important business. I'm so pleased that Steve Moore called out my friend John Tillman, the leader of the Illinois Policy Institute. If you want to know important stuff, good stuff, hard facts about Illinois politics, Illinois public policy, go to his website, www.illinoispolicy.org. A tremendous resource. We have another think tank leader in the room, Ted Dabrowski. WirePoints. Have you heard of WirePoints? Show you're a real person, Ted. John, you stand up too. People should see you. Ted and his team at WirePoints do an unbelievable job of collecting facts, hard facts, not made up stuff, but hard data from the sources that matter. If they're going to tell you about what's going on in the Chicago public schools, they get the information from the Chicago public schools. And they tell it to you unvarnished. They strip it down, analyze it, and present to you the facts, the truth about what's going on in public policy questions that matter to us here in the Chicago area in Illinois. www.wirepoints.org. Go there. You got a third think tank in the room. I'm the chairman of the Heartland Institute. Heartland, HEARTLAND.org. If you care about those environmental and those fuel and energy issues, if climate change and the prevarications, that's a polite way of saying the lies, about what the true debate, what the true nature of the science is, visit our website, heartland.org. Lots and lots of information. IllinoisPolicy.org, WirePoints.org, Heartland.org. Now, I have a real treat for you tonight before we go to dinner. Dinner is next. But I want to present to you in the room tonight is a real friend of everybody in this state, someone who's really been missed at the state level and at the national level for several years now. His contributions to public policy, to the improvement of our laws, and in fact, to the temperament, the kindness of public discourse in America is sorely missed. I'd like to invite your attention tonight to our friend and former United States Senator, Mark Kirk. Mark? Wave, Mark. There he is. What a pleasure it is again for all of us to be able to say we've had dinner with Mark Kirk. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your dinner, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you. Now is the time for those who are collecting raffle tickets to bring them up here. In a room to the rear, not too far away from, here I will show my age, Funk and Wagnall's porch. The straw poll ballots are being counted. Would you be kind enough to take your seats? Would you be kind enough to take your seats? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a political party. The work of this party is done at the grassroots, making connections between ideas. This is a party of ideas, and our leaders on the one hand, and voters at the grassroots on the other. No one is more important in that role than are the people doing work at the precinct level. I think we have in the room people who serve as precinct level election judges on election day. If you are a precinct level election judge. Would you please stand up now so we can say thanks? Election judges, people who work your polling places. Thank you. If in America we are going to have honest elections, that business of honest elections, fair elections, starts with you. The people who volunteer give up their days from 4 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, volunteering to be precinct level election judges. Incredibly important work, and we say thank you to you. If you in the room are a precinct captain, would you please stand up? Stand up. Thank you. Stand up, precinct captains. Thank you, precinct captains. The work of winning elections falls to you. You're the people who make the connections, neighbor to neighbor, explaining our cause, introducing our candidates, propagating our ideas, and getting people to the polls. So thank you, precinct captains. If you are an elected party official, if you're an organization president, an organization board member, an organization treasurer, would you please stand up? Any of the organizations at the township level, the county level, state level, thank you. Thank you to the people who make the party work. If you are one of the Cook County elected or appointed township committeemen, would you please stand? This is our county central committee. Here's Wheeling. Do we have others? Others in the room? Thank you. If you are currently an elected office holder, would you please stand up? Current elective office holders. Here's the Wheeling Township Assessor. Other elected office holders, thank you for your public service. If you are a candidate right now for public office, any branch, executive branch, judicial branch, legislative branch, would you please stand up? These are the people that Teddy Roosevelt said are the people in the arena. These are the people, these are the gladiators, these are the people who are taking the slings and arrows, the cuts, the battering. They're the people who are sticking their necks out, their heads up, to carry the message for us, to carry the message of this party, of life, liberty, property, the pursuit of happiness. If you are the leader of the Cook County Republican ticket in 2024, if you're Bob Fioretti, would you please stand up? I'm told Bob is here. Bob? Bob's not here? Well, I'm sure he wishes us well. One last what? I see, we're doing one more canvas to make sure all the lottery tickets are here. You may remember last year at this dinner, I told a joke. The joke I told was that the definition of artificial intelligence is the work of President Biden's speechwriting staff. Just minutes before we sat down to dinner tonight, I received a telegram from the National Bureau of Jokes telling me that I'm no longer allowed to say that line as a joke. You may remember, now this is true, you may remember that at the time that Congress was debating the Affordable Care Act, what the world knows as the disaster of Obamacare. Nancy Pelosi, then the Speaker of the House, the occupant of that majestic chair, told her colleagues in the United States House of Representatives, if you want to know what's in the bill, you have to vote for it. I thought that was the height of chutzpah. If you want to know what's in the bill, you have to vote for it. But now Nancy Pelosi is telling the entire country, if you want to know whether or not Joe Biden is senile, you have to vote for him. That is outperforming herself in the height of chutzpah. Are we ready for the raffle drawing? John, do we have all our tickets? Bring him up. Bring him up. After this batch, it's too late. The basket's going to roll and something's going to be drawn. I'm going to announce the straw results. Those are the straw poll results.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
That's going to be a big fun one. But they also haven't done dessert yet.
Okay.
So we've got.
Oh.
We're ready.
Sure. You need me?
No, because then I'll just tell them we'll have dessert, and in a few minutes we'll do the straw poll. All right, folks, we're going to do the raffle. The very first ticket we're going to pull is for the first prize, which is $2,000. This, the winner is Sarah O'Donnell. Where is Sarah O'Donnell? Is she here? You just won $2,000. Come up afterwards.
Do you have a pen?
Yeah.
Put 2,000 on that ticket.
Yeah. Okay. And I hope you know what Bitcoin is, so we'll work it.
And the next one is for 500.
Yep. The next one we're going to pick is for 500. Yeah. Just on that ticket, but give it back to me.
This is for 500.
The winner for 500 is Gary Rabine. Where did he go? You just won.
Donate it to the
All right, okay. Gary just said that donate it to the party. So thank you very much, Gary. You've already been so generous. Did you take my pen? I just had it in front of me. Oh, she took my pen. Yeah.
Here's this one. And tell them this one's what, for 250, is that right?
Wait a minute. Okay, give me the next one for two. The next one, the third prize is for $250. This $250 goes to Paul Russo of Park Ridge. Is Paul here? Is Paul here? Are you Paul? Okay, thank you very much. Right. Thank you, and we will be sending a check. The check will be in the mail. Thank you all very much. I don't have the money. No, we send it out to him. Yeah. Oh, his committeeman wanted to take it for him. That's how you collect your money? That's great, Jim. Stinson's thinking ahead, you know? Okay, folks, we're going to have dessert, and then in just a few minutes, we'll do the straw poll. It's being counted.
Ladies and gentlemen, we near the end. May I ask once again, if you be kind enough, please, to take your seats. We are moments away from your opportunities to have conversations into the night. Please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned that the Office of State's Attorney is the lead position on the county ballot in the presidential year. The next ranking position on our county-wide ticket is that of the county clerk. Now, the county clerk of Cook County, of any county, is one of the most important and yet unsung offices in the county. It plays an indispensable role, as you know, those of you who live in the suburbs, in the conduct of and the integrity of elections. It is the county clerk who is responsible for the conduct of elections in the Cook County suburbs. The county clerk plays an indispensable and central role in the calculation of the property taxes you pay. The county clerk plays an indispensable role in maintaining the records of the county board and the county government. And you know, in recent years, the legislature has merged the office of county recorder into that of the county clerk, so that the county clerk is also responsible for keeping our county land title records. Our candidate for Cook County clerk is here tonight. I want you to get to know her, recognize her, ask her please to stand. Her name is Michelle Pennington. Michelle. There you are, there you are. This is Michelle Pennington. Will you take 30 seconds and say hi?
Yeah, I'd love to. Hi, thank you so much. I am a candidate of just a couple weeks. I look to you all for lots of support. The Cook County clerk does not sound like a glamorous position, but as he stated, this position controls Cook County elections. And this failing political machine has had their thumb on our elections for far too long. And it's time for the Republicans to have an opportunity. I ask you guys for your support. I look for your guidance, and I look forward to being your next Cook County clerk.
Thank you. Michelle Pennington, you met her here. Michelle Pennington for Cook County clerk. Now, the man with the secrets. In his left hand, Mike Baumer holds the results of your straw poll for Vice President of the United States. The question is, whom should Donald J. Trump tomorrow, we understand from the inside information we heard tonight from Gary Rabine's friend Steve Moore, tomorrow we're going to know the answer to that, but here is tonight's prediction that you have made. Mike?
Thanks, Joe. I was surprised with as many candidates as we had a very clear winner. Tim Scott. Number 2, J.D. Vance. Number 3, Huckabee Sanders.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Alert the presses. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've had your dessert. I hope you've had a wonderful evening. that your minds are working, your blood is flowing, you're ready to get out there and help work to turn our townships, our county, our state, and our country around come November. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. On to Milwaukee. On to victory in November. We are adjourned.